Welcome to this week's episode. I am tuning in with you from the temple on my voodoo mother's land, Martine de Souza. Martine de Souza is the community mama, you could almost say, that is initiating me and that I met last January when I was only 48 hours here inside Benin. Martine de Souza is an incredible, wow, a woman that is of service in a way that I rarely see. 24/7, she's of service to the people in her family, in her community, and in her country, and even outside her country, because one of the first ceremonies I received from her was a welcome home ceremony that she offers to Afro descendants that return back to Africa. Martine de Souza, she has been doing so many different projects. She has run a project called Cinema in the Village, where she would visit different villages in Benin and educate the people about hygiene, about anti-conception, about child trafficking, which actually happens a lot still here in Benin. And she would educate the people and the parents in the villages what happens to their child when they give them to this so-called friend of the family to make sure they get school in the city, and instead they become domestic slaves or they go into sex slavery. And another beautiful thing that Martine does is she provides her home to over 10 teenagers that live here that she either brought with her from the streets or are no longer safe to live with their parents, and she takes care of them in her home. She also makes sure they get an education. She helps them to get a job. Then she helps them to build their lives, basically. And Martine is also a really powerful woman inside the voodoo community. So she's friends with the Pope of Voodoo, for example, because voodoo has a Pope, and the Pope lives here in Ouidah, the town that she lives in. And Ouidah is the capital of voodoo, like Benin is the cradle of voodoo. Voodoo is very much at its origin still here. Now, in this interview, we will share with you about what voodoo truly is and give you a glimpse beyond the misconceptions. We talk about all the beautiful gifts, all the love and all the power that is inside this tradition, and also the one thing that I find really challenging in this tradition, which is animal sacrifice, on which Martine also has a really beautiful vision that I super support her in. So all that and more in today's conversation with Martine de Souza, my voodoo mother, inside her temple space, in which you see Yemanja here, which is her main spirit, the mermaid. And yeah, I wish you an incredible time to get to know the indigenous tradition of Africa, the indigenous tradition that is deeply in connection with nature, with community, with spirits, with herbalism, and so, so much more. Enjoy. Welcome to the Seeing in the Dark podcast, the podcast for the women of the ancient futures, women that see beyond eyes and know beyond mind and are here to make a change from a deep communion with the mystery of life. Seeing in the Dark is about walking paths that have not been walked before and daring to show up for the mission and dream life that is knocking on your door. My name is Nicole Nima Costeres, mystic, medium, initiated priestess, and here to take you into the mysteries of purpose, power, ritual, and intuition. May you embody your own unique essence so deeply that your vibration naturally teaches, inspires, and assists others. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Seeing in the Dark podcast. I am sitting here together with my voodoo mother, Martine de Souza, and we met this last January when I was only maybe like 48 hours in Benin. I was planning to go in a 14-day tour around Benin as a tourist to have an introduction into voodoo. But then when we met, I decided to double my stay here in Benin and go straight into my first initiation into African Vodou. So I'm super happy that you are here, Mama Martine, to share with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Wedosi. I'm very proud of you because you follow your path. It's not given to everybody. And I bless you. Congratulations. It's true. You were here for a few hours, almost.
Yes.
And then suddenly the spirit calls you and you respond to it.
Yes.
That's your great blessing.
Yes, this happens to me quite often.
Yeah.
And you hear Martine say Wedosi, and this is how they call me here. So here in Benin, they don't call me Nicole, they call me Wedosi, which is my voodoo name that I received here. And many years ago, I had a wish to receive a name from an ancient tradition, and I would have never guessed by then that it would be in African voodoo. So when we met, this was when I was 48 hours in Benin, and it was through one of your family members, Adam.
Yes, Adam. Adam was your tour guide. He was the one who brought you here.
Yes.
I think you came here for lunch. The group was supposed to have lunch here, and that's how we met.
Yes.
And we didn't know that it was going to be a spiritual lunch.
No, we didn't know. We thought it was a tourist lunch.
Yes.
But actually, I also remember that I met you on the slave market. And you were sharing the story about the process that the slaves were going through, because actually here we are now in Mama Martine's temple space on her land. And this is the town called Ouidah. And Ouidah, you could say, is the, am I saying it right to say that it's the capital of voodoo?
Yes. Ouidah is the cradle of voodoo. Ouidah is also the main deporting port of slavery. Ouidah is today a cultural melting pot. I met you really, I remember, at the slaves market. First of all, I will start introducing myself. My name is Martine de Souza. Martine de Souza is a name of my great-grandfather, de Souza Francesco Felix. He was a slave master in Dahomey here. He was sent from Portugal to Benin to be one of the staff in the Portuguese fort. He will give up his job 2 years after that and will go to Brazil, come back on his own for the trades, because that was the business on fashion.
Yeah. So I actually remember that you shared this story on the slave market about is it your great-great-grandfather?
My great-great-grandfather. I'm the 6th generation now.
6th generation
Yes.
after him.
After him.
Yes. And I remember that you shared that your paternal ancestors were slave traders.
Yes.
And your maternal ancestors were in slavery.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember so well.
I remember so well because you know why? My maternal ancestors were in slavery and my paternal ancestors were working for the company that were shipping the slaves. And this is why I remember I was crying, because I remember asking you, I cried too much when I was in Ouidah.
Everybody was like, oh, what happened to her? What's wrong with her?
I was crying from the moment the car drove into Ouidah. I started crying. And then when you shared this story with me,
Yes.
Again, I started crying because I felt connected to your story, because I know really well this story of one lineage being enslaved by another lineage. And I found out when the slavery archive in the Netherlands became available for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see how my maternal ancestors were enslaved and where they lived. And And then I could see that my paternal ancestors were working for the same company that were shipping them. Yes. So when I heard your story, I just cried. And then I remember hugging you on the slave market.
Yes.
And I said to you, I've been searching for many years now for someone that can teach me about voodoo.
Yes.
And then you said you found her.
I told you that you find me.
Yes.
Because, my goal, first of all, my voodoo name is Ganjayi Mabegbe. When the metal hits the floor, it makes noise. My goal is to make impacts in the voodoo world. My mission is to teach about voodoo, to let the whole world know that voodoo is not evil. Voodoo is our spirituality. Voodoo is what gives us joy, happiness here in Africa.
Yes.
And I was happy that I found you, happy that you wanted to learn. And that's how we start.
Yes, that's how we started. So I actually finished my 14-day tour with Adam. And then I came here to live on your land and go through my first initiation.
And I appreciate, because you made it very well. You were capable. You did what you should do. And you didn't, when we were training you, initiating you, we didn't even feel that you didn't live here. It was like you were living here for a long time, It was so natural. And the way you repeat everything we tell you in our language is amazing. Can you see? And, we were astonished from the very first minute that we did your divination. You have all the spirits.
Yes.
And wow. And the diviner, if you were a man, the diviner will not continue with you. He will run away, because the same sign with him. And we were telling you that you are so strong and you're capable to do what the ancestors want you to do. And one surprise, when the night before you receive all your beads, all the, unction you receive,
my great-great-grandmother,
your great-great-grandmother already gave you all the sacred tools before I gave it to you.
So what Mama Martine is sharing about is when I came here, I received my divination, and they saw that actually all the voodoo spirits are with me, and they were very surprised, like, who are you? And they said, you need to make your priestess initiation because it's very important. Voodoo is, you are voodoo, they said.
Yes, you are voodoo. You're not human beings, you are voodoo. And we can't stop just on one level for you. You have to go to upper grades. You're now here to be the priest, but you have to come back to be
high priestess.
Yes, high priestess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this will be my journey moving forward. I will go on the path of becoming high priestess in this tradition. And like Mama Martine said, the night before I received all my necklaces, but to complete my initiation, I felt my great-great-grandmother, who actually handed her beads over to me, which is part of the voodoo tradition. When you pass on, you pass your beads to your children or grandchildren. And I didn't know, but my great-great-grandmother did so. So that was a very beautiful confirmation that voodoo was somewhere in my lineage.
It's somewhere in your lineage, otherwise it will never come to you. And I will tell you that in Benin, we say Wedomabu. Wedomabu means the culture, the tradition will continue. It's continuing on your side too. This is very simple. She traduced that by handing to you all her necklaces.
Yes.
It's not visible. You cannot see it today, but you have it. You receive it. It was a big blessing.
Yes.
A big blessing. And this will keep you healthy. It will give you all the knowledge. It will promote you so that you can be the ambassador of that culture. When your grandmother left her continent to go on slavery, over there she was not allowed to practice voodoo.
No.
She will hide and do a prayer. Can you imagine her pain, her suffering? Yeah. And finally, hundreds of years later, a granddaughter of her is following the path. It's a big joy. It's a big blessing for you.
Yes.
Yeah, she must be very happy. She must be dancing now somewhere. Yeah, and we don't know.
Yes. And actually, maybe it's beautiful to share that. I think why many people have misconceptions around voodoo is because during the slavery times, voodoo was suppressed a lot. So we had the Europeans coming here, and they came a lot with the missionaries to promote Christianity. And then they would see the people practice voodoo and worship the spirits and the spirits of nature. And they would say, you cannot worship these spirits anymore because they are from the devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. Because when they came and took our great-grandparents, they knew that they were very strong. They were powerful. How can we do to enslave them and succeed? We need to divide them. We need to teach them something else. We need to brainwash them. And that's what happened. They'll take us from here and so let us work in plantation and we are not allowed to practice our religion, their religion.
Yeah, exactly. Only Christianity was allowed to practice.
Only Christianity was allowed to practice. But do you know what our ancestors will do? They will create their own convents.
Secretly.
Yes. And
Yes.
in front of those convents, they'll just put the pictures of Catholic saints.
Yes.
But they will be doing their spirituality underneath.
Yes, exactly. And this is what happened. So when our ancestors were shipped to South America and the Caribbean, like all these places where they were spread out towards, they would still secretly practice voodoo, which also wavered out into many other different traditions. Like my mom is from Suriname, and there they call it Vinti. And then you go to Colombia, and there it's called Santeria. And when you go to Brazil, it's called Candomblé. So it's like different names, but all coming from that same root of voodoo.
But, it's the same.
African American hoodoo. Yes, exactly. And so the people would then, on top of the altar, place the Christian symbols like Jesus and Mary, all the Catholic saints.
Yes. And when the master is passing and will hear them singing, what are they doing inside? Oh, they are worshiping, Mary. They are doing something else.
Exactly. So it looked like they were worshiping Mary and Jesus and all the saints from Christianity, but actually underneath the altar, they would place their own spirits and their own sacred items and symbols.
Yes, that's how they could survive. And let me tell you that continues until today, because the Catholic priests will tell us that we are still worshiping evil, telling us that we're going to be in hell. The pastors doing the same, but we are strong. We are fighting for the survival of our tradition, of our religion. Only because, let me tell you that some priests will come to us at night and ask for protection. Why? Why? Because they know the power of our voodoo, of the religion. They know the power of it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they will never come. But we always help them. We don't refuse. We help them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So could you share a bit more about what voodoo is exactly? Because I think many of the people that will watch or listen, they know voodoo from Hollywood movies where they see people like stab in dolls and make black magic with it and harm other people. But what is voodoo truly?
Voodoo truly is the fact of worshiping the nature, the earth, the sky, the trees, the water, the sea, the fire, the thunder. All those elements together constitute voodoo. And the word voodoo means what? Let's put ourselves together and practice and find solution. So in the night of the time, our people, our ancestors were facing a lot of difficulties. They chose themselves, those who had a big vision, who could see things. Let's. So they'll meet apart from the other population and started to develop strategies according to their dreams, according to what the spirit will tell them. And step by step, the voodoo start growing. And that's where we are today. But, the outsiders, the voodoo, they develop everything and they have rules. The spirit will tell them, do this before somebody be part of this. This is the way that you will do the initiation. It was instructions to follow. Mm-hmm. So they will follow the instructions. But the people who are outside and who don't understand will have fear. What is that? What are they doing?
Yes.
That's why voodoo is criticized. Mm. Now with, about the doll with the needles, that is not voodoo.
No, this was what surprised me so much because I remember coming here and actually I think I asked Adam, the guide, like, are there even any voodoo dolls? Because I didn't see them while I was in Benin. And he said they're actually not part of voodoo. So I don't even know who made that up, but they do exist, the dolls, but they're not part of voodoo, right? Or what is the story with these dolls and needles?
Actually, the dolls and needles is created in somebody's mind. It should be part of Bo, B-O, the evil practice. it's not voodoo at all. People don't use dolls very often. They use statues and tight it. While they are hurting people, they'll be calling the name with the statute, be tighten and be asking the evil spirits to help them to achieve their goal. That is it's not voodoo. When you are practicing voodoo, you are forbidden to hurt somebody, you're forbidden to kill. Otherwise, the punishment will come to you.
Yeah.
But people choose to be mean. They choose to be evil. They are the one who practice the Bo. B-O.
Yeah. So Bo is the black magic.
Exactly.
And voodoo is actually forbidden to hurt other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even the Bo, we can make two Bo. There's a good Bo and evil Bo. And all the Bo people, the positive Bo, the negative Bo, and the voodoo people, we all use the same elements. We all use herbs, plants, animals to make our things happen.
Yeah.
So it's also making confusion a little bit. We go to the same market, we buy the stuff, but it's the mind, it's the goal.
Yeah.
That's different.
And I think this happens in every tradition or religion, right? I mean, when we look at Islam, for example, there's extreme people doing bad things and there's many people doing very beautiful things. Or when we look at Christianity, there is priests that have like these abuse stories, and there is many priests that do really beautiful work. So I think every religion and tradition has the one that comes from love and some that come from evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the people, human beings, who is making his own choice, choose to be bad or choose to be good.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So in voodoo, we are forbidden.
Yeah, because you also believe, like we believe in voodoo, a bit similar to karma, right? When you hurt someone, it will come back to you.
It's a boomerang, I think. When, it's always come back to you. If it doesn't come to you in the near future, it will come back anytime. And, I always observe the people who practices Bo. Those who will make evil Bo, they never succeed in their life. Even you cannot stand next to them. They are dirty. The aura is not clean. You see? Remember 3 days ago, I went to do a ceremony and I came to you. I told you that I didn't feel good. Yes. I was saying that I went for a sacrifice for one of our ceremonies, but my chest was hurting me. So it always shows you that that man is not a good person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think what I love so much about, because you could say voodoo is the indigenous tradition of Africa. Just like when I went to South America and studied with the Yawanawa people, they had the same story. Like the missionaries came to them.
Wow.
They were forbidden to practice their tradition. And then they found back their power. And they started working again with the herbs, with the plant medicines, with the spirits of nature. And I think that this happened to many indigenous cultures all around the world. And I feel also that all around the world that they are still here and still alive.
Yes, in 1972, from that period, it was a Marxist-Leninist, it's what we will call revolution. And with our president, Kirikou, he forbidden the practice of voodoo in Benin.
Wow.
He said no voodoo practice. And my father was the mayor of Ouidah. And he was supposed to go to the Python's temple, to go to the all ancient people, shrines, to destroy them. My father said, no way, come on. De Souza, I was born in Benin, and I know what the tradition is. I'm not going to do that. No, I don't know when voodoo begins, and I don't know when it will end. I'm not going to put an end to the voodoo. My father was thrown in jail.
Wow.
Yes, he was put in jail for 41 days. They beat her. They were beating him every day to make him accept to destroy the pythons, the temples. He said, no, I'm not doing that. Kill me. I'm not the one. They released him after 41 days and sent him to the Pope of Voodoo. Go and destroy his temple now. Let's see. He said, no, I'm not doing that. He went to the Pope. He said, they are declaring war against you. I don't do it. I cannot do it. The supreme priest just laughed at them. They said, let them come to my temple. It was a long fight. They were catching people every day. And you know what happens? No rain.
No rain.
No rain. No crops.
Wow.
Sickness everywhere. Everything became chaotic. And even the president, he could not even pay the salary of the people in this Benin. He was obliged to resign.
The president?
Yes. After some years, he said, okay, now you are allowed to practice your religion. You are allowed. And in that same week, rain started to fall.
Wow.
And things start to grow.
So it was the nature also starting to resist the oppression.
The oppression.
Wow.
You see? So we had that experience in Benin.
Yes.
And now nobody can tell us not to practice what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I sleep, I have a dream, I have a headache, I'll come here and find out why, what's happening, what am I doing wrong? Then I'll face it. Witchcraft. I can cure people, save people from witchcraft by using natural items with my prayer. And that's it.
And you work also very beautiful with the herbs and the bads, the herbal bads, because you've been teaching me these last few days about making the bads.
Making the bads.
Yes.
I love it. And, bath is very important in our life because even our thought, negative thought, the places we are going through, we are catching bad vibe. So we need to purify ourselves from time to time. That's why I love baths. And you brought me some bath too.
Yes, I brought some herbs from the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so happy. I said, wow, this is a blessing. Wedosi brought me leaves from Netherlands. And I told you that you will prepare it for me.
Yes.
And I'll take my shower. I have to receive blessing from you too.
Yes.
I like it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I see that in the world and in any religion, we need to share knowledge.
Yes.
And we are becoming colleagues.
Yes. Actually. And this I remember I love so much about studying with you specifically. First of all, because I really wanted to learn from women. So this was really good for me. And also what I really loved is that you are open for other traditions, because I remember sharing with you that I studied with so many traditions, so I can never be only one tradition. So I would love to blend it with my other experience. Yes. And you were a big yes to that.
Yes, I was a big yes to that, and I still am, because, look, last month I was in Washington, D.C., and I met a lot of healers, a lot of people who are in the tradition from all over the world.
Yes.
And I was so happy. I learned so much from them, because actually it's different names from, those places. But when you watch very well, we come to the same goal. There was one evening when we all put ourselves together, bless the United States and bless, the whole world. And it was the same, same practices. I felt blessed, So being open about the other tradition includes your knowledge.
Yes.
And includes your power.
Yes.
I did what we will call pranic healing. Yes, I did pranic healing. So sometimes when I come to my temple, instead of using the talc, the perfume, I will use the prana.
Yes, beautiful.
To illuminate.
Yes.
Yes. And, so and I'm trying. Sometimes I would need to avoid a lot of sacrifices, animal sacrifices.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
So that I can use the prana to solve all those problems.
Yeah. This I found also very beautiful, because I think this has been the most challenging part for me of the voodoo, because in voodoo they still work with the animal sacrifice. Yes. Now, one thing that I can embrace about it is that afterwards the part of the food is for the spirits to offer, and part was eaten with the family, and if it's a big sacrifice, with the whole community. And this was very beautiful for me, because nothing gets wasted.
Nothing.
And I think also in our Western culture we are not used to seeing animals actually die, because a lot of people in the West, they eat meat, but it all happens behind closed doors. So we are not used to seeing animals being killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that here it's much more normal, because here many people don't have a fridge. Many people, they go to the market and they buy the animals alive.
Yeah.
So they have to kill them to be able to eat the meat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's much more part of the culture here to work with animals that are alive and then turn them into food or an offering. But this was a difficult part for me. And one of the things I really loved also is that you shared that you are now developing ways to work with prana instead of the sacrificing of animals. Yeah.
I'll get there. I am doing that because it's very important. And I was a bit, I don't know, sad for you this morning.
Yes.
Because I wanted to see you actually what happens somewhere else. That's why I pull you in.
Yes.
And I hope you learn something. You happy?
Yes. And Mama Martine is talking about a ceremony this morning where they were sacrificing a few animals. And she knows it's difficult for me. So she whispered in my ear, "Do you want to go outside?" I said, "No, I will try to stay in and just breathe." Because I think when it comes to learning from other traditions, it's also important to stay open and to remember that our cultures are very different. Exactly. And when I come in with my Western lens, I can make it maybe wrong or say that it's bad. But actually, when I zoom out, I see that there's also beautiful intention behind it. Like the spirit of the animal is sent on a mission in spirit. Exactly. Missions of protection, missions of healing, missions, many different missions. And then the meat is also shared and eaten. So I think this softens me a lot, although I never think that I will be able to do it. I'm much more interested in developing the offerings to the prana. Yeah, the prana. But I also respect that it's part of the tradition here. Part of the tradition. Yeah.
Yes. And even if I'm using the prana, I will just stop, about 90 or 70% sacrificing the animals. And I will still on the same line, because I'm talking to some other voodoo priests right now, and they need to start, like me, the initiation, the training. Yeah.
If others also want to embrace that. Yeah. Which is also a big mission, because this is I think voodoo is over 6,000 years old. So for 6,000 years, they're doing it in this way. Yes. So many have resistance towards new ways.
Yeah, I'm
also.
Sure many already.
Yeah.
But I think what's good is today, the voodoo adepts are going to school so that they can write about their own culture. And those who will be minded open will join me. Yeah. So it will happen.
Beautiful. Yeah. And this I really love about you. I think you are doing such beautiful work here in so many ways. It's not only in the voodoo, but you are also, I remember when I came here on the slave market, you were doing this ceremony for the welcome home ceremony for Afro descendants. So like African people that come back from the USA or come back from Europe, and I was then one of them that received a welcome home foot bath. And again, I was crying. And I think there is something in you that I see you always 24/7 being of service to people, whether it's in the middle of the night or during the day. You're always helping people. Like there's over 10 teenagers living here that you took into your home. You're helping tourists by giving them divinations and baths. You're helping the people in the community. Why do you think that is? Why do you love that so much?
I don't know. And I feel so happy when I do things like that. If I don't, I'm sad. I don't feel well. So it's natural. Yes. And I just love it. It's part of my life. Yes. That's how I am. So, people ask me the same question, and I have no answer. That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think I also want to say thank you for giving me such a beautiful experience also as being part of the family, because I feel really part of the family. But also bringing such beautiful teachings, because now we're talking about sacrifice, but it's only a small part of voodoo. I feel voodoo is such a rich tradition with so much love and power and singing and chanting and praying, and I love to learn the invocations and like the deeper knowledge of the tradition and about the herbs and the herbal baths. And I want to thank you for teaching me this in such a beautiful way.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's my pleasure. And that's your role, your duty to learn, and you are meant to do that. I'm not doing anything big for you. You are home, you back to your culture, you back to your tradition. I'm just guiding you.
Yes.
Yes. Because I know you pick quick. It's impressive. I'm impressed. Even the songs, the dances, you are great.
Yes, because I said I want to learn the songs and the invocations in Fon, which is the local language here.
Yes.
And it asked me for a bit more study, but I feel it's much more powerful when I can learn it in the native language.
It's more powerful. And I appreciate the way, we were going to translate to let you do it in English, but no, it will not. That's no. It's good to sing or to pray in the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that the listeners or the viewers have a much more clear picture of what voodoo actually is, of the elements that are practiced in voodoo, but also that it is the indigenous tradition of Africa, and that it's so beautiful to spread the word about this tradition or other indigenous tradition, because I feel they help us to reconnect to nature.
Exactly.
They help us reconnect to community, which is such a strong part in Benin as well. Like you live so strongly in community together. Yes. And you share everything, and it's all about togetherness. And I think that the indigenous traditions hold very important keys for change, especially in the Western world, where we've become very self-orientated.
Thank you.
Yeah. And disconnected from nature often.
Yes. And let me tell that voodoo has a lot of rules just to protect the nature. To pick the herbs, you need to go to them by respect, with respect. You need to respect this and this. So I think they established all those laws to protect the environment, to protect the nature.
Yeah.
And it's a time to thank our ancestors, because anything that we do, we thank them. We are grateful for them. So we are grateful to the ancestors.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. And we will close today's episode with big thank you for listening. If you have any questions for me or Mama Martine, feel free to send them in and we'll make sure that you receive your answer. I wish you a beautiful day and see you again next week. Before you leave this episode, I want to ask for your support. As you know, that Benin is a country that is one of the poorest countries in the world. Over 40% of the people lives below the poverty border of $2 a day. And there is a lot of things that can be done for this country to be more supported. Mama Martine and I have been talking over the last 6 months on ways to set up support projects, like bringing back to life the project where there is education about child trafficking to the people in the villages, but also bringing support to children that no longer have their parents, or parents don't have enough funds to arrange their school books and things like that. There are also some projects that are a bit more simple to manifest, and this is one that I want to ask your attention for today while we are working on the bigger projects. Today I want to ask for your support for one of the young adults that lives in this house. His name is Cradle. Cradle is 22 years old now, but since he was 6 years old, he lives here in the house with Mama Martine, as she found him and his brother on the streets in Cotonou. He ran away at 6 years old from home because his parents parents got divorced and his new stepmother wasn't good to them. She was beating them, not feeding them. They were not safe in the house. So they ran away to the market, and that's where Mama Martine found them on the streets and took them in her house. Ever since Credo was a little boy, he would play with fabric and needles and start sewing things. So the first thing that she would teach him as a teenager was how to sew. So today he can sew almost anything. But there is a deeper, bigger passion that Credo has, and that is of African Vodou. He loves the tradition. He knows all the rituals. He's always fully in the singing and the dancing and the praying for all the people that come here to receive their ceremonies and initiations. Initiations, unfortunately, here in Benin are very expensive for the locals. And that's why I want to make the dream of Credo come true by letting him go through his first initiation ceremony. As you might understand, Benin is a country where not a lot of people have an opportunity to follow their true passion and their true dreams. And this is what you can help Credo with. I want to raise €650 for him to go through his first initiation ceremony here on the land of Martine. And you can help me by donating whatever you feel inspired to donate. All the bits help, whether it's €1, whether it's €10, whether it's €100 or more. Your support is so welcomed, and you can make a difference in this young man's life. And remember, this is only the beginning of the projects that we are setting up. We are developing ways on how there can be more consistent support coming this way. We want to, for example, extend this house so that more teenagers and more children have a possibility to live here, because like Credo, Mama Martine takes care of them until they're adults and until they can basically create a life for themselves. So will you help me and Credo make his dream come true and help him set that first step into the direction of truly being able to live and share his passion of African Vodou with the world? You can find the link below this episode to the GoFundMe donation and donate whatever you feel inspired to support Credo with. Thank you so much. Did you receive any inspiration, motivation, or powerful breakthroughs by listening to this episode? Then please share this episode by taking a screenshot and tagging me in your stories at nicole.nima.costeres. I would love to celebrate you, share you in my stories, and it would mean so much to have my work reach more powerful, passionate women like you. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you next week.